Hello everybody, welcome back to another Weather Central forecast. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. And on today's video, we will be going over a long-range video here because there's not much that's going to be upcoming in the next few days. So I thought looking at the models, seeing what the long-range models are hinting towards, and just kind of putting it into a forecast to let you guys know what you guys could be seeing in the future would be pretty efficient for you guys, I would think. As you guys know, we are seeing a major warm-up throughout areas into the north, into parts of the south central. But in the near future, we could see just a little bit of not polar air, but cooler air make its way down into, the northern U.S., and that could cause for a snowstorm extending all the way down into Texas. Now, amounts vary from models. Some models don't pick this up, some models do. So that's kind of why it's all in question marks because we don't know if this will happen at all. You might not get this cooler air dig down, and so you won't be seeing the precipitation turn into snow, especially as far down south. You might still see some snow up north, but this might not happen, especially if that cooler air doesn't really dig down that far. And this is still a couple hundred hours out, so a lot is to change between now and then, whether it intensifies as a snowstorm or it dies down in the next small run and turns into all rain event, or if that precip just doesn't show up in the next small run. Who knows? We'll have to keep monitoring that for sure. So off to the west, there's not really anything crazy going on. Obviously, mountain snow around there in those higher elevations, but you're not looking at any crazy events right now in the long range outlook. But in this green here, I have some rain. This is where I think you guys could see some moderate rain in the long range models. In this like limeish color, have some rain. This is where you're not predominantly going to be seeing a lot of rain, but the chance is there for some rain. And then in this red, I have thunderstorms because this is where that thunderstorm risk does line up with this long range models. Not all of them agree. Some of them don't even agree. But looking at the average of the long range models, they did have a slight risk of thunderstorms for these areas. Obviously, everything can change in the next model runs, and everything can be so much different. So, obviously, take this video with a grain of salt because things are likely to change. But I did think that it would be fun to give out a long-range forecast because there's really not much going on right now in terms of, systems going around the country. So, let's go ahead and get into our National Weather Service watches, warnings, and advisory displays. And we will go ahead and see what's going on. So we have some red flag warnings up into parts of the central United States. That extends for parts of Nebraska into southern South Dakota, into parts of extreme eastern Wyoming. Seeing those red flag warnings, so definitely be safe if you guys are planning on burning. Wind speeds will be very high, and it'll also be very dry because you guys are seeing that warm up throughout these regions right here. So that is more likely why you got your red flag warnings issued. Still have those river flood warnings into parts of the south central United States into the Tennessee Valley. Special weather statements for Georgia, Texas, into parts of Montana, into parts of North Dakota, all the way off to the west as well. We are still seeing some high wind warnings and high wind advisories for parts of the west, and we also are still seeing those winter weather advisories. More predominantly in the higher regions, but still some of those lower elevated surfaces still could see some snow as well. So yeah, nothing crazy in terms of the outlooks or the advisories and stuff. But obviously, if you guys are under those red flag warnings, definitely be safe. Just stay weather aware because anything can pop up at any time, especially over to the west where you're still seeing some of that snow. So definitely just consult your guys' National Weather Service office if you guys have any questions on anything upcoming, and they will definitely try to answer those for you guys. So now we are looking at the Pivotal Weather Storm Prediction Center outlook. This is the day one outlook, so this is today. We are seeing a thunderstorm risk into this green here. That's extending from parts of Louisiana into parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. This is a slight to maybe a medium risk of some thunderstorms possible. And as you get into this marginal risk, you're looking at a bigger risk of severe weather in terms of wind, hail, and obviously thunderstorms. So it's not looking crazy at all for the United States. And then tomorrow we have just a slight risk over into the southern part of Florida, right there. We're seeing that light green, so that thunderstorm risk for those areas. So we're not looking at much severe weather in the near future. So I think we are going to steer clear of that. But where this gets really interesting, I know the GFS isn't really a long range model; it's more of a medium range model. But I figured why not use this for this video. So first we're going to be looking at the South Central, right? And then we'll make our way up to the Midwest and then to the Northeast, where we are going to be seeing this possible snowstorm. I want to emphasize the word possible because it's more than likely going to change. But as of right now, we are seeing that snowier side to it. So we have some Gulf moisture down here, and I want you to keep an eye on that because it's really going to become stationary over these areas, possibly causing some flooding hazards as we move this on. So we move it, you can see we have this Gulf moisture even extending into parts of Kansas, all the way up into the Ohio Valley, into parts of the Midwest. If we move this on even more, you can see some more moisture, even more. This is where we start to see possibly a snowstorm. Now, the GFS is putting out crazy numbers of snow here, because just watch what they do for this area. They'll keep the heavy snow throughout this region for a couple of hours. If we move this on, you can see that's just not going to happen. At least I don't think it will. I'll show you guys in just a minute how much snow they're putting out, but it's just ridiculous amounts. We're still seeing some moisture over here, and that is going to move its way to the north and east, or it might just move off eastern. Right there, you can see below, because we are seeing this moisture go around like that as it moves its way up to the northeast. And we are still seeing some, Gulf moisture being injected into this, so that could intensify it a little bit more as well. If we move this on even more, we can see maybe with this low on the back end, we're seeing some cooler conditions. You can see that happening in Kansas at the moment, around 240 hours out. And this is going to allow for some snow on the back end of it. Obviously, details like this is way too early to be giving out, but as of right now, that's what it's just looking like throughout these areas. So maybe some isolated snow chances in the near future for these areas after 10 or so days. You might obviously stay tuned for the latest forecasts, because this is more likely going to change. But it's kind of cool seeing this happen again as we're into March, and we've already seen 70s in these areas, and we're already looking at maybe possibly another isolated chance of some snow. This is predominantly going to affect the northern part of the United States into parts of the Northeast. Now, we're not looking at a major snowstorm by any means. This is going to be a minor snowstorm at the most, at least as of right now. Going to the total snow accumulation like I was talking about, we'll go ahead and speed this up real fast. You can see over 1.5 feet of snow for parts of Texas, and that's extending an 8-inch range to maybe up to a foot into Kansas. This just isn't going to happen, guys, and none of these other models are showing this, especially that higher concentration of snow there. And they're really not even showing this snow at all throughout these areas. Obviously, they're showing it in the higher elevations, in the mountainous regions, but they're not showing it on these, surface-based areas, so, this lower elevations, I guess I should say. They're not really showing this. So going out this far is a little ambitious, especially when you're talking about a system that they're saying is over 20 inches. I just don't think it'll happen, but there is that chance, so I just want to go ahead and give that heads up. Looking at the GFS 2-meter dew point, by the way, I just realized that I didn't really go over the Midwest into the Northeast. I will go over that after this little part here, so don't worry about that. So we're looking at our dew points here, and obviously the higher dew point you get to your actual temperature, the more humid it will be outside. Sorry, I can't really speak right now. The more humid it will be outside, and the more chances you have for severe weather. So let's say dew point here is 55. If it's close to the actual temperature, you could be looking at, if you have that precip lineup, you could be looking at thunderstorms throughout these areas with that humidity. Especially it's warm enough to support thunderstorms. We're seeing dew points into the 60s. And by the way, this is 114 hours out when we were starting our model run, where we had this Gulf moisture getting injected throughout these areas right here. So this is where we are starting out. Just want to give a little heads up on that. So if we move our dew points on even more, you can see dew points do extend up a little farther north, and you get dew points of 50 into parts of like around Green Bay and Three Lakes, Wisconsin. Around those areas, you're having dew points of over 64 into parts of Texas. And this is really just going to, if this does verify, this is going to sprout some thunderstorms throughout these areas here. Obviously, we're going to have to keep an eye on that. It is 132 hours out, though, or 132 hours out from the time that I'm recording this video. So, obviously, it's close enough to start looking at it, but it's not close enough to narrow down those exact details on, where that's going to line up with those dew points and stuff like that. So you can see we're having that cool down here off to Texas. That is where they are showing that, 20 inches of snow. That's why those dew points are so cold. But you're seeing just a couple 100 miles north, you're looking at dew points of 58 into parts of Joplin, Missouri. And just over by, West Plains into parts of, I think that's Charleston, Missouri. You're looking at dew points still over 55. Getting down into parts of, just east of Shreveport, seeing 61 dew points. Dallas, 60. Houston, around 64. So the dew points are going to be there, especially for parts if this dynamic cooling doesn't move too far eastward. We're still seeing some severe weather chances throughout these areas. Right here, especially if you still do have that precip mixed in with it. Definitely some thunderstorm risks for sure. From this on, not a whole lot goes on. You can see maybe just a little bit of cooling. The dew points getting down a little bit more. And then you get your dew points in the 16s, the 20s. So you're not looking at severe weather after this. This is more likely where that cool down is going to start occurring. But, we're still looking at some severe weather outlooks for sure. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the Midwest and the Northeast, and we'll start talking about the system for those areas. All right, here we are with the GFS. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it out to the continental United States, so I don't have to go over this area and then go over to this area. We can just do it at the same time while we're looking at this. So we have that Gulf moisture getting ejected. We maybe have an Alberta Clipper up here, maybe just a system that's going to track eastward and really do nothing to the United States. We'll move this on. We'll see that Gulf moisture get injected from the south. We're seeing the system up here and some moisture from the west meeting up, kind of forming a squall line of showers and snow there, and then a more wider region of precip into parts of Wisconsin. If we move this on even more, you can see maybe a snowier side to the north. If that does verify, you're looking at maybe some heavy snow possible, moderate to heavy, throughout parts of Michigan into parts of northern Wisconsin. We're going to see that move on a little bit, and then the bulk of it is going to transition off to the east. We're still seeing that Gulf moisture get injected. We have this system over here with some moisture, and we have this squall line of showers once again moving its way through the United States, moving its way off to the eastern coast. If we move this on, we have even more Gulf moisture getting injected, and that meets up with that moisture that we were just seeing, and that's going to form even more precip throughout these areas right here, and that's just really going to cause some possible flooding. We'll go over that in just a second. And then this is the secondary system. Obviously, it's almost 250 hours out, so really going over this is kind of overkill at this point. But we see a big swath of heavy to moderate snow. This will eventually move its way into the northeast with that back end, because we will have that low. We're going to see some maybe decent lake effect. I mean, it's 300 hours out, guys. I don't know how much I can emphasize that. So even going over lake effect for a system that's 300 hours out is almost impossible to predict. But just looking at these long-range models, we could see some wraparound snow showers. But this does look to be a very big system. If this does verify, let's go ahead and look at snow accumulation here. See what is going on with this. So you're seeing, honestly, if it's this big of a snowstorm, I would expect it to extend all the way out here throughout these regions and into the northeast. If it's really like I just said, if it's that big of a system, it's not going to be this narrow of a line, which obviously it could be, but I don't really believe that. You're not going to tell me that some parts of, central Nebraska is going to get 0 inches of snow, and then you move 30 minutes south and you see 8.1 inches of snow. It just doesn't really work like that. I mean, it could, but that really only happens when there's lake effect bands and stuff like that. So with our last thing that we'll be going over here, oh wait, I forgot to mention, bullseye for this is throughout, the Midwest, some parts of southern Wisconsin, some parts of Iowa. I don't think that this will be a very heavy accumulating system. I'd probably take these amounts that you see right now and divide them in half, and then as you get down into Texas, I'd divide that by 3, and that's what I think is the reasonable amount as of right now to see. So I think the reasonable amount would be less than an inch of snow in northern Wisconsin, maybe an inch or so to maybe 2 or 3 inches into southern Wisconsin, extending downward. Like I said, divide those totals that you see here by 2 or even 3, and that's at most the reasonable amount that you could see for the moment. So now we're going to look at the total accumulated precipitation. This is going to give us an idea of where the severe weather and thunderstorms could be, because obviously the heavier cells produce more rain. And so if we move this on, we're going to see where they're predicting the heavier, precipitation as we move on out of 240 hours out. This is the Canadian model, so it only does go out 240 hours. So we're seeing a good region of precipitation throughout here, even extending northward. This is where I think you could see your severe weather, obviously, because those dew points will make its way far north enough, because we will have that little shield of cooler air off to the west. So we're still going to be seeing these good amount of dew points to support those thunderstorms if they do occur, and we're going to have the heavier precip. So that's why I believe you could be seeing those possible thunderstorms throughout the next 380-ish hours. So that is about it for this forecast, guys. It was a long forecast as there was a lot to go over because it was a long-range model outlook. I hope you guys did enjoy this forecast, and I'll see you guys in the